Imagine a life where, getting those big goals isn't this constant struggle, but more like things just fall into place.
Right.
What if the secret to achieving anything you really want isn't about, say, working yourself to the bone or having every step planned out? What if it's simpler, more profound?
That's exactly what we're diving into. Our sources today, they come from, well, decades of real-world experience with personal growth, the law of attraction. And they really highlight a path that's much more about shifting things internally rather than just pushing harder on the outside.
Okay.
It's not your standard goal-setting stuff. It's really rethinking how we even approach our desires. Moving into a space where your intention, your vibrational alignment, that's what really makes things happen.
Vibrational alignment, okay.
Yeah, understanding these like universal principles that are always working whether we notice them or not.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to really cut through all the noise out there and give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut, a way to get genuinely well-informed on manifesting your desires. And this deep dive, it's built just for you, pulling out these powerful nuggets from a really illuminating discussion with an expert, someone who hasn't just taught these ideas for, over 50 years?
That's right, 50 years.
But he's lived them. His own story isn't just theory. It's like living proof of how these principles can turn a life around. We're focusing on those core truths, the foundations of personal growth, drawing directly from a pretty extensive interview with him. He offers these foundational ideas that honestly you often miss in the regular self-help world.
Absolutely. Foundational is the key word.
Okay, so let's get into one of the really radical ideas he talks about. It's about decisions. He says most people, they never really make those big decisions because they get totally stuck on the how.
Yeah, the how. It's paralyzing for so many.
Right? How am I going to get the money? Where's the time going to come from? How to get the skills? But what if the how isn't actually your job? Now that's a big shift in thinking.
What if you just need to make the decision, like really decide, and let the universe or maybe, some higher intelligence handle the details once you're truly committed?
It's completely different from how we're usually taught to plan things out, isn't it?
Yeah.
The detailed action plan first.
Totally.
So this raises a really crucial question. What actually happens? Mentally, energetically, when you make one of those firm, unwavering decisions.
Yeah.
Our source, he makes it clear, it's not about having the money lined up or all the resources ready to go. It's purely an act of will.
Just deciding.
Exactly.
Right.
Think about Dr. Wernher von Braun. When JFK asked him how they'd get a man to the moon, his answer wasn't some complex technical brief.
What did he say?
He just said, the will to do it. That's it. Simple, but incredibly powerful. An absolute, unshakable resolve.
Wow. The will to do it. And when you make a decision like that, a truly definitive one, our source says you essentially flip your brain onto a higher frequency.
Okay, higher frequency. What does that mean practically?
Well, it's not just a metaphor. It's like an actual energetic shift inside you. Your whole being starts vibrating differently. You start bouncing between doubt and desire, and instead you lock onto the precise vibrational frequency of what you want, that alignment. That's the key.
So, okay, if my brain is on this higher frequency, vibrating at that specific level, then I naturally start attracting everything that matches that. The people, the resources, the opportunities.
Precisely. It's way beyond just wishful thinking. It's that vibrational alignment we talked about. It's a universal law. Our expert explains it clearly. You can only attract according to the frequency that you're operating on.
Okay.
But here's a critical point he makes attraction. It's actually a secondary law.
Secondary. What's primary then?
Vibration. The primary law is vibration. Everything, absolutely everything in the universe, including our thoughts, is constantly moving, constantly vibrating.
Right, like physics tells us.
Exactly. So when you consciously choose your thoughts, your intentions, when you make that definitive decision, you're actually tuning your own vibration.
Like tuning a radio dial.
Perfect analogy. And when your frequency matches the frequency of what you desire, boom. The law of attraction just kicks in, effortlessly bringing those things into your experience. All the other stations, all the static and noise of doubt or conflicting desires, they just fade away because you're not tuned to them anymore.
Which is why making that clear, firm decision is so critical. It's the tuning knob.
You got it. It sets the frequency.
And this expert's own life, it's just a powerful example of this whole idea in action, right? Going from really struggling to huge success using these concepts.
Oh, absolutely. A living testament.
It's kind of surprising to hear him say it, but he described himself early on as a useless human being.
He's very open about it.
Yeah, no direction, really low self-esteem, didn't know who he was. He even dropped out of high school after just a couple of months.
Born during the Depression, Dad was away in the war.
Right, felt totally lost as a kid, worked in bars, just drifting, feeling like he was going nowhere
Mm.
until he was 26. That's when he had his awakening, as he calls it.
And he feels those early struggles actually make him a better teacher now.
How so?
Well, his thinking is if these principles worked for someone as, seemingly lost as he felt he was, then they really can work for anyone. It proves their power.
That makes sense. So what was the turning point? You mentioned a mentor.
Yes, Ray Stanford. This raises a really interesting question. Why did this guy succeed in reaching him when probably lots of others had tried and failed?
Good question. What was different?
Ray didn't just offer advice. He handed him a copy of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich,
The classic.
the classic, and told him read this every day, and then made this huge promise. You can have anything you want.
Wow, that's a bold claim, especially to someone who felt like he did.
Exactly. The expert admits his first reaction was total skepticism. He said he was unhappy, sick, and broke. Why would he believe this?
I'd be skeptical too.
But Ray's approach was just simple, direct, and honest. He basically said, listen, my way's working, yours isn't.
Ouch. Fair.
Totally fair. Because Ray was visibly happy, healthy, wealthy. He always had money, seemed full of energy, a complete contrast.
So seeing the proof right there.
Seeing the proof combined with Ray's conviction, the way he obviously lived what he taught, that created an opening. It let him finally consider a new way of thinking, even if it seemed crazy at first. That reality check delivered with compassionate authority, it broke through all that internal resistance.
Okay, so he takes the challenge. He starts reading the book. What happens next? This is where the story gets really interesting.
It really does. It shows the power of putting this into practice.
He starts by writing down a goal, $25,000.
Which, remember, felt completely nuts to him.
Because he was earning only $4,000 a year and owed $6,000.
Yeah. I mean, do the math. Even if he paid every cent he earned, it would take a year and a half just to break even. He called it an impossible situation.
Because he was stuck looking at his current reality.
Exactly. But here's the shift, the key insight he had. By focusing constantly on his debt, he was just keeping himself in debt, manifesting more debt, essentially.
Right, vibrating at the frequency of lack.
Precisely. So this gold card method, writing the goal on a card, reading it daily, it shifted his focus 100% to earning money. He said, I never thought of earning money before. I thought about debt all the time. This exercise got him thinking about earning.
Such a simple switch, but obviously profound.
The impact was almost immediate. He started cleaning one office, $30 a month.
Okay, small start.
Tiny start. But within 1 year, he was earning $14,500 a month.
Wait, $14,500 a month from $4,000 a year.
Astonishing, right? He pointed out his fire chief back then was only making $11,500 a year.
That's incredible growth.
Yep.
In just a year.
And it wasn't just a flash in the pan. In less than 5 years, he built this office cleaning business across multiple major cities. Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, even London, England.
Wow. So how did he scale it so fast? He couldn't have been cleaning all those offices himself.
No, and that was another key realization. He quickly saw that just working harder himself wasn't the answer. It was about changing his mindset and then leveraging others. He started hiring people to do the cleaning, expanding his operations. He'd show up in a suit and tie, not with a mop, but to manage things, bring coffee for the team, make sure they felt supported.
Smart. Focusing on growth, not just doing the work.
Exactly. It shows that once you get your frequency right, the how, hiring people, expanding it starts to show up. The path appears.
Okay, but here's something fascinating. Even after all that success, making all that money,
Yeah.
he said it took him, 9.5 years to actually figure out how it all happened, to understand the principles behind it?
Isn't that something? He had the results, big time, but the why wasn't clear yet. He couldn't articulate the underlying laws at work.
So that curiosity, wanting to understand, that led him to seek out mentors.
Yes, exactly. That deep desire for understanding drove him to study with people he calls brilliant people, giants in the field. And the rule he used for picking and learning from mentors was incredibly simple, but really effective.
What was the role?
He said, do exactly what they tell me until I find out they're lying or they don't know what they're talking about.
Wow, so basically complete trust and application up front, no second guessing.
Pretty much. Blind trust, but placed wisely in people who had proven results. It bypassed all that intellectual resistance and doubt that usually stops us from really absorbing and doing what we learn.
I can see how that would accelerate learning incredibly.
He credits all his later success, especially as a teacher himself, to that disciplined approach, just soaking it all in.
Who are some of these key mentors he mentioned?
Well, Ray Stanford, obviously, who started it all. Then Earl Nightingale,
The voice of the strangest secret. A legend.
the absolute pioneer of recorded personal development. Our expert actually worked directly with him, learned from him.
Amazing.
And Bill Gove. He called him the Frank Sinatra of speakers.
Why Sinatra?
Because Gove was apparently so smooth, so relaxed and natural on stage. Our expert learned from him how to connect with an audience, how to overcome his own early insecurity about speaking. That was crucial.
So these mentors provided the wisdom that let him kind of reverse engineer his own success and then teach it clearly to others.
Exactly. They helped him understand the how that took him almost a decade to figure out on his own.
Now, beyond the money and the business success, there's another force he really emphasizes, something that shaped his whole philosophy: generosity.
Yes, hugely important to him. And it wasn't just, a business tactic he picked up later.
It was deeper than that.
Much deeper. It was instilled in him right from childhood. A core family value that really speaks to how powerful those early lessons can be. It suggests real abundance isn't just about getting, it's about giving.
Tell me more about that childhood influence.
Well, it really makes you think about how early experiences shape us, right? He tells this incredibly powerful story from when he was a kid during the Depression. Things were tough for everyone, including his family. But his mother, who he called a phenomenal woman for holding things together, she gave him, a little boy, $10.
$10 back then was a lot of money.
A huge amount. And she told him to take it down the street and buy a ton of coal for a family whose house was cold, a family she didn't even know personally.
Wow, giving that much when they likely had very little themselves.
Exactly. That act of just pure, selfless generosity from a place of real scarcity, it left a permanent mark on him. He remembers it crystal clear over 65 years later.
It shows that abundance isn't just about what you have, but what you're willing to share.
Perfectly put, it shaped his whole philosophy on giving.
And the implication, as he sees it, is this idea of giver's gain.
Yes, a powerful concept. The idea that the person giving often gets more out of the exchange than the person receiving.
Not necessarily in a material sense, maybe.
Not always directly, no. It's about the energy, the feeling, being in service. There's an inherent good feeling in the act itself, but he also believes it sets up a kind of reciprocal flow. When you operate from genuine service, helping others, the universe seems to respond. The act feels great, sure, but the ripple effects, the unexpected good that comes back, it's often far greater.
So it's more than just being nice, it's aligning with some kind of universal flow.
That's exactly how he connects it. He sees generosity as being in harmony with universal principles. He even brings up Emerson's idea of cause and effect. Action and reaction are equal and opposite.
Applying a law of physics to giving.
He believes these aren't just physical laws, they apply energetically too. The universe, in his view, operates in this orderly, lawful way. He calls them God's laws, these fundamental principles governing manifestation.
Does he give examples of this in practice now?
Oh, yeah. He talks about his company's work in Africa, building schools, but they don't just build the structure and leave.
They do more.
Much more. They ensure sustainability, they provide food, hygiene supplies, things needed to make sure the school actually functions long-term and truly helps the community.
That's a deeper level of giving. True service.
Right. It exemplifies his belief that giving, real service, isn't just ethical, it's one of the basic rules for success. It aligns you with that universal law of cause and effect, creating abundance.
Okay, so we have decision, vibration, generosity. Now let's talk about something really fascinating he brings up, our higher faculties.
Yes, this is core to his teaching, tools we all possess but rarely learn to use consciously.
He says these aren't just abstract ideas, they're the actual tools that separate humans from other animals and let us consciously create our reality.
Exactly. Other animals, they operate mainly through their physical senses. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, that dictates their reality.
But humans have something more.
We have these extraordinary inner capabilities. The problem is we're usually programmed genetically, environmentally, to rely mostly on those five senses too.
So these higher faculties just lie dormant.
Largely underdeveloped, yeah, like
Yeah.
having this amazing internal toolkit, but never being shown how to open the box or use the tools inside.
Let's unpack these tools. What are these 6 higher faculties he talks about?
Okay, let's go through them. They're the keys to unlocking that creative power inside you. First up is perception. This is huge. It's your ability to consciously change how you look at anything. And he says it so powerfully. You change your perception, you change your life.
Change your perception, change your life.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you do that?
He gives a really practical technique. If you're wrestling with a problem, write it down. Describe it clearly on paper, like you're explaining it to a stranger. Then put the paper down, step back, and ask yourself, is that problem in me or is it on the paper?
Trying to objectify it.
Exactly. You work at it until you can honestly say it's on the paper, detached from your emotional reaction. Only then can you look at it objectively, maybe ask how a mentor would see it. This shift in perception reveals solutions you couldn't see when you were tangled up in it. The answer's always there, but you need the right perspective to see it.
Okay, perception. What's next?
Next is the will. This is your power to concentrate, to focus your mental energy on one thing, hold a clear picture in your mind, and shut out distractions.
Like that von Braun example again, the sheer will.
Precisely. It's not just passive wishing, it's holding that mental image with intensity. He says this focused will increases the amplitude of vibration of the energy you send out. It directs outcomes.
Got it. Willpower as focused energy. Third,
Reason. Our ability to think critically, to analyze, compare ideas, sort truth from fiction, make logical judgments instead of just reacting emotionally.
so the ability to actually think things through properly.
Right. To go beyond just accepting what you're told and truly understand.
Okay, fourth faculty.
Imagination. He calls this the most powerful creative faculty we have.
More powerful than reason or will.
In terms of creation, yes. Because as he says, everything you create twice what's in here. He points to his head. What's out here?
So the mental blueprint comes first.
Always. Always. Every invention, every piece of art, every business plan. It existed as an image in someone's mind first. He mentions Stella Adler's acting method, acting as if you're already the person you want to become, embodying it mentally and emotionally.
Living from the end result in your mind.
Exactly. But he also gives a strong warning. Imagination works both ways. You can just as easily imagine negative outcomes and create those.
Ooh, good point. Use it wisely.
Absolutely. Develop it daily by consciously imaging what you do want. Like his business partner imaging herself as a champion writer. Active, deliberate creation.
Makes sense. What's the fifth faculty?
Memory. And he challenges the whole I have a bad memory idea.
Oh, what does he say?
He says, everybody has a perfect memory. It's just weak, meaning it's not fixed. It's like a muscle you can train. He worked with Harry Lorraine, the memory guy.
Yeah, I know that name.
Lorraine told him, how long do you remember? As long as you don't want to forget it. It's about focus and technique.
So memory is trainable, not fixed. And its power isn't just recalling the past.
Right. It's also about reinforcing the future you want. By vividly recalling past successes and imagining future ones, you're wiring your brain for that outcome.
Interesting. Okay, the sixth and final faculty.
Intuition. That gut feeling, that inner knowing that goes beyond logic.
How does he explain intuition?
He says it's a mental faculty that literally picks up and translates vibrations. Intuition reads feeling. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration.
So it's sensing energy.
Essentially, yes. Picking up on unspoken things about people or situations, and how do you develop it? He says you have to get your mind off yourself.
Off yourself.
Yeah. Stop being self-conscious or insecure. Relax, be fully present, and focus your attention entirely outward on the other person, the environment, the problem. An interested mind, he says, is often an intuitive mind. When you're genuinely interested in someone, you remember their name, you pick up on cues, interest opens the channel.
Wow. Perception, will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition. These are incredibly powerful tools.
They really are, the building blocks of conscious creation.
Which leads back to the big question. If we all have these, why are they so underdeveloped for most people?
Yeah, it's a crucial gap, he points out. Our systems just don't teach this.
Schools don't teach it?
Parents usually don't teach it because they weren't taught. Companies don't teach it. So the chances of learning to consciously use these amazing tools are, as he puts it, really slim.
And that's why he thinks so few people achieve truly massive success, even with all the self-help books out there now.
Exactly. People get information, but they don't know how to use the instruments, these faculties, to actually apply it and get results.
It comes back to that idea he mentioned. We don't see with our eyes, we see through our eyes.
Meaning our perception is filtered, programmed by our conditioning. We're not seeing what's really there or what's really possible within ourselves. It's like we're living in a dark room, totally unaware of the light switch right next to us.
Okay, this idea of being programmed brings us to another huge concept he talks about, the paradigm.
Ah, the paradigm. Yes. This is what he identifies as the single biggest roadblock to success, personally and financially.
The biggest hurdle.
Yes, a powerful, mostly unconscious force that shapes pretty much everything we do and achieve, or don't achieve. He stresses this isn't just a small challenge, it's the fundamental thing holding back even really smart, educated people from reaching their potential.
So what is a paradigm exactly? How does he define it?
At its simplest, he defines it as a multitude of habits programmed into your subconscious mind to control your behavior.
Okay, habits programmed in the subconscious, controlling behavior.
Right. It's not about what you know consciously in your thinking mind. It's about that deep-seated conditioning that runs your life on autopilot.
And where does this programming come from?
Two sources. Genetic and environmental. You inherit certain tendencies, like he mentioned his red hair skipping a generation. That's genetic code. And then from birth, your environment, especially in those early years, installs habits directly into your subconscious. Think about language, cultural norms, family beliefs.
Things you just absorb without question as a kid.
Exactly. And this is why you see patterns like, say, generational poverty or addiction. It's often not a lack of intelligence or desire, but these powerful, ingrained paradigms controlling behavior, sometimes completely against someone's conscious wishes.
And these paradigms can sabotage even brilliant people.
Absolutely. Because their conditioned behavior overrides what they consciously know is right or better. It keeps them stuck repeating old patterns, even if they desperately want different results.
Can you give that insurance agent example again? It really illustrates
Oh, yeah, it's a perfect example. He was working with this big insurance company, right? And they had these agents, debit agents. For years, their routine was go to the office every morning, collect small payments, debits from clients.
even though the industry had changed.
Completely. Payments were mostly automated bank withdrawals by then. There was literally no debit to collect anymore.
But they still went to the office all day.
They still went to the office, hung around, and only went out to actually sell insurance at night when they figured families would be home.
Even though they knew the debit collection was obsolete, they knew they could be selling all day.
They knew intellectually, yes, but their behavior was locked into that old routine. Their paradigm, their subconscious programming, kept them going through the motions, stuck in an inefficient pattern.
Wow. The paradigm was literally controlling their actions against their conscious knowledge. Like driving with the parking brake on.
Perfect analogy. Knowing it's on, but somehow unable to release it.
Okay, so this is critical for everyone listening. How do you know if your paradigm needs changing?
His answer is super direct. You always need to change your own paradigm.
Always. It's not a one-and-done thing.
No, it's constant growth. You identify what needs changing by looking squarely at your results. Your finances, relationships, health, happiness, whatever area isn't where you want it to be. Then you ask, what habitual thoughts and behaviors are causing these results? To get different results, you must change the underlying program, the paradigm.
Makes sense. So how do you actually change it? You mentioned two ways.
Yes, two main ways paradigms get altered. The first is emotional impact. A sudden, really strong event, something that shakes your world to its core.
Like his 9/11 example for people directly affected.
Exactly. A trauma, a major loss, sometimes even a huge unexpected win. These can bypass the conscious mind and jolt the subconscious programming instantly, but
You can't exactly plan for those.
right, they're rare, unpredictable, and often painful.
So what's the more reliable way?
The second method, constant spaced repetition. This is the key for most of us.
Constant spaced repetition, meaning
It means consciously, deliberately, and repeatedly impressing a new idea, a new belief, a new desired habit onto your subconscious mind until it takes root and overwrites the old program.
Okay, give me some practical examples of how to do that.
He offers some great ones. First, that daily gratitude practice he teaches, writing down 10 things you're genuinely grateful for every single day.
How does that change the paradigm?
It forces a shift in your focus and your emotional state. You start vibrating differently, focusing on abundance instead of lack consistently. That reprograms you over time. Another powerful one is writing affirmations, but with your non-dominant hand.
Non-dominant hand, why?
Because when you write with your usual hand, it's automatic, subconscious. But Using the other hand forces intense conscious focus on every single letter, every stroke. He does this himself, writing things like, "I'm so happy and grateful now that I know my spiritual DNA is perfect," with his left hand. It disrupts the autopilot, forces your conscious mind to engage deeply with the new idea while you're physically writing it.
That's fascinating. It's like bypassing the old wiring by making it a conscious effort.
Exactly. He figures it might take him a year to get good with his left hand, which just shows how strong paradigms are and the kind of consistent conscious effort needed to overwrite them. New neural pathways are being built.
This is really practical stuff. So knowing we need to shift paradigms, what are the core daily habits he boils it down to for consistent growth and creating that life you want?
He distills it into 3 essential daily practices. Anyone can start these right now.
Okay, what are they?
Number 1, study every day. Non-negotiable. Continuous learning.
Like he does himself, admitting he still doesn't know everything.
Exactly. That humility and commitment to keep learning. Feed your mind constantly with empowering ideas. Seek wisdom from the right sources. Don't just consume, engage.
Okay, study daily. Number 2.
Have a mentor. Find someone who has already achieved what you want to achieve.
Does it have to be someone you know personally?
Ideally, yes, but not necessarily. You can learn intensely from someone through their books, their courses, their recordings. The key is learning from someone who's actually done it. He warns, most people are getting it from people who don't know any more than themselves.
Yeah.
You need guidance from proven winners. And then, apply their advice openly.
Got it. Study, mentor. What's the 3rd habit?
Have a goal, a clear, specific goal, and follow that process we talked about.
Write it down first.
Yes, get it clear intellectually. Commit it to paper. The moment you do that, you have it on an intellectual level.
Then get emotionally involved.
Crucial step. Feel it as if it's already real. Live from that end result in your imagination and feelings. He quotes the Bible, "Before you speak, I'll hear you," meaning the thought, the feeling, precedes the manifestation.
And then the physical result follows.
It has to follow. According to the law, the only variable is the gestation period. Like a seed needs time to grow, your goal, your spiritual seed, needs its own incubation time. We might not know exactly how long, but if you stay in vibrational harmony, keep the faith, it will manifest. Don't try to force it, just nurture the vision.
Study, mentor, goal. Those are powerful. But you mentioned gratitude earlier, and it seems like that underpins everything.
It really does. Beyond the mechanics of goals and learning, he stresses gratitude as absolutely foundational, the antidote to all stress, anger, and fear.
An antidote. That's strong.
Because it instantly shifts your vibration. You can't be genuinely grateful and fearful or angry at the exact same moment. He quotes Wallace Wattles from The Science of Getting Rich.
What did Waddle say?
The entire process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. It's the master key to alignment.
And that story about his business partner, Sandy Gallagher, doing the gratitude list and sending love to people bothering her, that transformed her life.
Completely. And not just her life, it positively impacted her mother, her sister. It became a core practice they teach because it's so fundamentally powerful. It moves you from lack to abundance, from contraction to expansion, opening you up to receive.
Okay, so daily habits. Study, mentor, goal, and underpinning it all, gratitude. Plus that principle of generosity.
Absolutely. Giving is fundamental. It keeps the flow going, aligns you with that universal law of cause and effect. And keep studying. He's adamant about that. Even after 50 plus years, he's still learning, still exploring these faculties. There's so much I don't know. That's the mindset.
Any specific books he really recommends for people wanting to dive deeper?
Definitely. Think and Grow Rich, of course. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, short but potent. Use Squared by Price Pritchett. He calls it a powerhouse. Every page is better than the last. And for really deep dives into mental science, Thomas Troward's work, Edinburgh Lectures, Law and the Word, Bible Mystery and Meaning, and Genevieve Barron's Your Invisible Power. She was Troward's only student. Powerful stuff on the mind's hidden forces.
Great recommendations. Okay, so we have the tools, the habits, but let's be real. When you start making these changes, pushing boundaries, fear comes up. It's inevitable.
Oh, absolutely. Growth and fear often go hand in hand. He tackles this directly.
How does he frame it?
He talks about the terror barrier.
The terror barrier.
Yeah.
Sounds daunting.
It is. It's that moment when you move beyond just intellectually thinking about a big new goal, like say quitting your job to start that business, and you start to get emotionally invested in making it real.
That's when the fear hits.
That's when, as he puts it, all hell breaks loose. Suddenly, intense fear, doubt, anxiety floods in. That's your old paradigm fighting back, screaming, danger, go back to what's safe.
And if you listen to that fear,
You retreat. You fall back into what he calls safety bondage. The comfort zone becomes a prison, stopping your growth dead in its tracks. You stay stuck.
so you have to push through that barrier.
You have to make a conscious choice to move forward despite the fear. But here's the interesting part he points out. The fear doesn't just vanish instantly once you push through.
Oh, it sticks around.
For a while, yes. He says the fear is going to be there for a while until you feel like, oh, this is my new comfort zone. The new idea, the why, slowly becomes the new normal, the new X, your new conditioning.
So it's about expanding your comfort zone step by step, even while feeling the fear.
Exactly, like an athlete pushing through pain barriers. You tolerate the discomfort until a new level of normal is established.
That actually makes fear sound less like a stop sign and more like
Yeah.
a signpost.
Precisely. He actually says if something doesn't scare him a bit, he figures he's probably not going in the right direction. The fear indicates he's pushing his boundaries, which is where growth happens.
So the key is repetition again.
Yeah.
Keep doing the new thing, even when scared, until it becomes the new habit.
Yes. Consistent action, despite the fear, rewires the paradigm. It becomes automatic over time. Remember, thought is the preamble to everything. Thought waves are cosmic waves.
Your thoughts are broadcasting a signal.
Constantly. Setting a goal flips your brain to that desired frequency. Acting consistently, even through fear, reinforces that frequency until the universe has to respond. Once the paradigm shifts, you just automatically do it. The struggle disappears.
It becomes your new reality.
It's your new reality. And connecting this to the biggest picture, his message is ultimately about our potential. He asserts we have infinite potential.
Infinite, really?
Yes. He believes our spiritual DNA is perfect. We're inherently capable of greatness, limitless growth. It's not about adding something we lack. It's about uncovering the perfection already within us.
Peeling back the layers of limiting beliefs and conditioning.
Exactly. That inner perfection is always trying to express itself more fully, always seeking expansion and full expression. But we are the ones who stop it with our conditioned thinking, our paradigms.
So can we ever fully reach that infinite potential?
He believes we'll never get close in this lifetime because potential itself is always expanding as we grow. There's no final finish line, just ever-widening horizons.
Wow. That's both humbling and incredibly empowering.
It is, and his core advice for living in alignment with this, his 3 truths for the world.
What are they?
So simple, yet so profound. Live in the now, be grateful, and give. Practice those 3 and you stay aligned with the flow, open to that boundless potential.
And his definition of greatness is not about reaching some endpoint.
No, greatness isn't a destination. It's something you work toward, a continuous process of bringing out the best of yourself. It's the journey, the striving, the ongoing expression of your highest self.
What a powerful perspective. So, wrapping this up, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We really have.
From the absolute power of making a decision, realizing the how isn't your main job, to understanding and starting to use those incredible higher faculties: perception, will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition,
Tools we all have.
and tackling the biggest block, the paradigm, understanding what it is and how to change it through repetitions and emotional impact. Plus, the essential daily habits: study, mentor, goal.
And gratitude and generosity underpinning it all.
Right, it really paints a clear path, not just for achieving external things, but for fundamental internal transformation.
And that leads to a really important question for you, the listener, to consider. If you sometimes look at other people and see things that aren't really there, judgments based on appearance, perceived differences, how often are you doing the same thing when you look at yourself? Seeing limitations, flaws, barriers that are just part of your old programming, not your true potential.
Seeing something that's not really there within ourselves, that's powerful.
Our perception needs shifting, starting from within, because the truth is we are all capable of incredible change. It just takes getting the right information, understanding these laws, and then applying it consistently. You were born Mitch, inherently rich in potential with perfect spiritual DNA. Our job is just to let that perfection express itself, uncover the magnificence that's already there.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to really mull over. If the law of attraction really does take over when you're consistently thinking and vibrating on the right frequency, what's one small, maybe even slightly scary, but bold decision you can make today? Right now. Forget the how for a minute. What decision could shift your frequency and set a completely new trajectory for your life?
Just decide.
Just decide. Trust that the how will show up when it's time. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been truly enlightening.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and definitely keep asking the